Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar on Alberta Environmental Farm Plan's newest version 4.0. My name is Devin Lloyd. I'm the Environmental Farm Plan Program Manager, and we do also have Sonia Shank here, Lisa Nadeau, and Tanya Mescal-Hebert, and we are all with Alberta Environmental Farm Plan. I am going to ask that everyone keeps themselves muted during this presentation. You can ask questions in the chat, and we will also have a question period at the end of the presentation. And this is going to be recorded. We want you to take advantage of version 4.0. We are very excited about our newest version. All of the content within the EFP has been reviewed by technical specialists and EFP technicians to provide you with the most up-to-date practices and resources. The version 4.0 also has a renewals option when renewing your EFP online. The new version launch does not affect validity of EFPs in older versions, so EFPs still have the 10-year expiration date. When you log into your account and you already have a previous EFP in progress, this pop-up is going to appear to let you know that you can take advantage of the newest version. EFP workbooks that are not yet approved will eventually be force upgraded into the newest version. So this means there will be some new questions that will have to be answered in some of the chapters and sections. EFPs that are in progress will have until the end of June before they are upgraded to the newest version. So in progress EFPs means that they have not been submitted to your technician for review. And then EFP workbooks that are pending review will have until the end of July before they are upgraded to the newest version in case the EFP is sent back and forth between the technicians. EFP workbooks that are approved will stay in their current version, and then when it comes time that they need to be renewed, they will be automatically upgraded into the newest version as well. With the new version, there has been a 18% decrease in questions. The functionality of the workbook is still going to stay the same. We have added a chapter for beekeeping. For commercial beekeeping operations, you can contact us at Alberta EFP. There are still mandatory chapters that are required for everyone to complete. They're indicated in the applicable column and are non-clickable, as you can see in chapters 1, 2, 4, and 5 in this example. So there are only 7 mandatory chapters. If the chapter does not apply to your operations, such as chapter 6 in this example, you can click on that check mark and you'll no longer have to complete that chapter. So in this example, chapter 6 is already unchecked. We have also added a recommended chapters feature. So recommended chapters will be bolded on the workbook chapters page. So these recommended chapters are selected based off of the main farm enterprises that would have been selected in chapter 1. Some of these chapters will be bolded regardless, so that would be water bodies, large predator, trees, and shelter belts. That's because we recommend those chapters for everyone. And these chapters are recommended. It does not mean that they are required. So if a recommended chapter does not apply to your operation, then you still do not have to complete it. So we also have a risk rating calculation acknowledgement for farmyards and field groups. So what this is if you are working in your workbook, and if you're working in an in-progress one, you will have to go in and check off this acknowledgement. Or if you are creating a new workbook, this acknowledgement checkbox will be there. So kind of what it does is just lets you know about some calculation questions further on in the workbook. There will be, so upgraded workbooks will require users to go in and click through the acknowledgements for each inventory. and there will be 3 little dots to indicate a requirement that you have to go in and check off those acknowledgement boxes in the last slide. This also applies to Chapter 2 water sources. Once it is completed, the 3 dots will be replaced with a check mark indicating that it is done. And risk ratings are now demonstrated by each separate inventory. So by clicking on the blue question mark at the end of each risk rating, you can see how the risk was calculated specifically for your operation. And then this is just an example of how those risks are demonstrated. So this will be both in the Chapter 1 inventories for farmyard and field group inventories, and then also your water body and water source inventories. We have also added a water source type. So when adding a water source, there is now a requirement to select the type of water source. So this could be a well, cistern, dugout, abandoned well, etc. These inventories will have the same acknowledgement, like I previously mentioned. So the water source inventory and selecting that type is linked to the questions and ratings. So what this means is it will automatically mark sections of the questions and ratings non-applicable if you have indicated you do not have that type of water source. So for example, if you do not select that you have a cistern as a water source, any questions pertaining to cisterns would be marked non-applicable already, and then you would still have to go in and just do save and continue. We also have added some additional mandatory chapters. So mandatory chapters will aid producers to complete the minimum requirements for their operation. Mandatory chapters are Chapter 1, Site and Soil Characteristics, Chapter 2, Water Sources, Chapter 4, Environmental Emergency Planning, Chapter 5, Habitat Management, Chapter 8, Disposal of Farm Waste, Chapter 9, Energy Efficiency, and Chapter 10, Management of Household Wastewater. The Habitat Report, the Habitat and Biodiversity tool is now required prior to answering questions, and the Habitat Report after running the tool will now be auto-saved to My Documents. And as mentioned, we do now have the renewals option as well. So if you already have an approved online EFP, you'll be encouraged to renew when logging into the workbook. So your workbook will be copied and updated to the newest version. And if a workbook has already been renewed, a similar announcement will appear indicating that the workbook has already been renewed. So as most of the workbooks will be renewed from older versions, many of the chapters and questions will have to be reviewed to answer some of the new questions. And this will be indicated by 3 dots in the workbook chapters. So as you can see here, the 3 dots indicate that the chapter is not complete or the section is not complete in that chapters. So that applies to both renewals and upgrades, as they will both be transferring to the newest version. With the renewals, there is also an updated action plan to see improvements on your operation. So changes from a 4 to a 3 will stay under actionable risks, and you'll still have to do your short-term timeline and fill out an action plan for those ones. When you're working through your renewal action plan, you can click through on the View Previous Action Plan to see what plan you have submitted in the past. And then if your action changes from a 4 or a 3 to a 2 or a 1, no additional actions are required, but that is still going to pop up in your action plan so you can see the progress you've made on your operation. So for help, you can contact your EFP technician or anyone at the Alberta EFP office. Technicians are assigned on a municipality basis when you first register for an EFP. So you can find your technician info when you're logged into your account, working on your EFP. So it's just on the left-hand side. And then you can also call or email us at the office if you're unable to contact your technician.